Day 3 of the Romford, it's day 3, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's day 3 of the Romford Film Festival 2025. We just showed a short movie and a feature, and now we are joined by some cast and crew from one of the shorts. Do me a little favour, guys, go down the line, who you are and what you did on your project.
So, my name's David Maccormack. I wrote and directed Buried.
My name is Stephen Kerr and I played Alistair in Buried.
So I'm going to jump back a little bit. I always like to find out a little bit more about our filmmakers and why they do what they do, because it's a hard industry, really. What was the first project, the first film or TV show that you saw that inspired you to want to do this, to be in this world?
Well, for me, it's actually specific to this film because it's a Werner Herzog film called Fitzcarraldo, and it's set in the Brazilian rainforest. It's about an opera enthusiast, Klaus Kinski, and he decides he wants to start a business exporting rubber. It sounds like, saying it out loud, it sounds like I'm making this up, but this is a real film. And in order to do that, no one else has ever done it, so he has to get this 350-ton steamboat up and over a mountain along the Amazon Delta River. So he engages the help of the locals, like the local tribes people, to do this. And because Werner Herzog is like a purist in his filmmaking art, he literally, the way he was like, right, how are we going to make this look realistic? So he just went out and bought a 350-ton steamboat and then enlisted the help of the locals to like hoist this up this muddy hillside and then down the other side. And he did it for real, you know. A couple of people died, and some of the locals, Klaus Kinski was so difficult that some of the locals offered to assassinate him, but Werner Herzog was like, thought about it, no thanks. So that was just like the most mind-blowing, and it's shot in a kind of like, it's a bit like a documentary element to it, it's all natural light, and it's in the middle of the jungle. And I later found that he just didn't record sound.
Okay.
And he was just like, I'll do it later, until it became too late. So the sound was atrocious, so they re-recorded it in the studio. Like, they just played the movie in front of everyone, they just kind of like lip-synced to it. So it's a really odd experience watching this, but I really kind of watched it thinking, you know what? I think people can do anything. And that's what inspired me to kind of. I work in unscripted TV, so this is one of the reasons why I thought, you know what, I'm going to make this film, because if someone can hoist up a 350-ton steamboat over a mountain, there's something in it that people can just do stuff.
Wow, indeed. And Stephen, what inspired you to get into this industry?
Demi Moore and striptease.
Good answer.
No, I don't actually know the answer to that question. I don't know. I saw a lot of. I would maybe say when I first saw The Crow, Brandon Lee, just something captured me from that film. I don't know if that was the reason I became an actor, but when you answered that question, that was like the first thing that popped into my head. So I'm going to go with that.
So, Stephen, how did you get involved in this project, and what made you want to be part of the project? What made you want to play this character?
When I read the script, so when I auditioned for it, it was weird because it was my first audition after COVID. So it was the first in-person audition I had for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years. And it was just strange actually being back in a room again and actually like being in front of someone and performing. It was very, very, very strange. But obviously I went in, I got it. And then when we met, it was like we got on very, very well. Because we met beforehand, didn't we? We met. I met you after I got accepted for the audition.
Oh yeah. You also missed out that you dressed up for the audition as well. I think that went a long way for me. Because I was like, oh, I can see this guy.
That's right.
You know, like literally no imagination. And that's like because it's set obviously in the Scottish Highlands, and you have to wear, you know, outdoor clothes, and you turned up in your waterproof trousers and hiking boots, and I was
that is right.
blown away. I can also say as well, like I didn't I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing. Me and Olivia, the producer, we'd done casting for TV shows, but we've never done any like scripted drama casting. So, you know, getting people to read a script and they'd read it out, and you're like, yeah, okay, read it again. It's like, I didn't really know why, just read it again.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I've been lucky, and so there's been certain films that I've made where as soon as I've read the script, I have went, this is going to be really good. And I've just had a really good feeling about it. There's been a few, there's been 1815, there's been Mia, where I've read it and I've went, that is going to be good. And if I get it, I'm going to be really, really, really lucky. And when I read Buried, I had the exact same feeling. I knew it was going to be good.
Strange question, but what was it? What was it that made you feel like that?
Saying that after you watched it. What?
I don't know if
No, not like that.
I don't know if it's just the way it's laid out in the script, or it's the sense where I could picture everything from the script in my head, and I would go, and again the same with the other films as well, but I was like, if this is done right, it's going to be done, it's going to look fantastic. I don't know how to explain it. A feeling, an intuition, probably is probably the best word for it. And that's what I got when I read Buried.
And David, we've been sitting talking out there, and you said that when you saw it up on the screen today, you could see everything that was wrong with the film. But I'm going to flip that, because I like to flip that, and I like to put you on the spot. What are you most proud of when you see that movie up on the big screen?
Oh, well, I mean, this is my first scripted film, so I wrote and directed it, so I think, as you pointed out, yeah, I should be proud of that, so thank you very much.
You should be proud of that.
And you're right, no, listen, you're right, and it's part of like the journey. I think one of the things that when I spoke to everyone I could about, you know, coming here, watching the film on a big screen, a lot of people said, listen, you're probably going to hate it when you see it up there, which is like, there's an element of truth in that, because you just see all the flaws, you see everything you want to change. But you're right, I did see a lot of stuff that I liked, you know, and for one of them, obviously, I thought Stephen and Simon, like, you know, just to go mention the casting process, as soon as Stephen walked in, we were like, yeah, obviously it's him, you know, and then Simon was the same, it was like, yeah, well, you know, fucking, yeah, like, these guys are like, you know, that's who we want.
And if you meet Simon, you'll be like,
yeah, he's got a big character, and I was like, that's who I want, and he's
great.
You know, they were both brilliant.
And Simon's got some mean credits to his name.
Yeah.
Simon's been in some fantastic projects. And when I found out I was working with Simon again, I was like, oh yes.
Yeah, and I'd known you knew each other, you'd worked together before, I knew it was like two of them, so I was like, right, it kind of, that actually helped sway me as well, but I found that out after, just because I was like...
Oh, did you, really?
Yeah, because I thought, okay, it would help if you got on, because it's 2 days, we all went up to the Highlands in Scotland, and like, listen, yes, what's good about it? I think it looks great, I think they're great, I think it sounds great, like, you know, and not to be hypercritical of myself, but like, you know, it's my first film, so there's going to be flaws, but I think the important part is that, like, I learn from them, you know, and I think I'm quite glib and flippant about these things. I think it's quite naturally a Scottish trait as well. Just to, no, you know, you don't want to come out like, oh, I'm like, you know, nailed it, you know. But I think it's important to recognise, like, you know, and learn from those things, because I'm going to make another one, and I just want it to be better. You know, like the things, it's worth clarifying, the things I'm saying that I don't like about it or aren't right are my fault. Those are the weak points.
Yeah, okay.
As a first time filmmaker, is that it?
He's been way too hard on himself.
I don't want to come across as being weird about it, because like, I'm not going to, you were sat with me that whole time, and I wasn't like crying, I was just like, yeah, sorry, I'm not used to this format.
So on that though, it's all a learning experience, all a learning curve. This is your first movie, and by the way, amazing, well done, fantastic. You got it made. It's here today. We got to see it on the big screen. So pat on the back to yourself
Thank
there.
you.
But for both of you as well, what would you say is the biggest thing you maybe learned about filmmaking, but also about yourself on this project?
Well, I've got a good one about filmmaking itself, because I was the director on set, right? Usually, like I mentioned, I do unscripted stuff, so like they're always very small, like documentaries are very small crews, and you generally do everything yourself. Like, you know, a lot of the time you might have someone helping you, but you do the sound, you carry the camera, you do the interview. With this, we had like a big crew of like 20 people, and there was a bit where we're kind of like, okay, we need to get 100 yards over there, carry everything, and I saw one of the assistants like struggling with his little wheelbarrow and carrying stuff, and I was like, come on, I'll help you. And he was like super experienced, and he just put it down, and he said to me, no, you need to go and organise everything up there and get ahead, and I'll worry about this. I'll put it down and rest for a minute. That's how I'm going to get it faster. And I was like, there was like a little ping in my head. I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I can't just do everything. I need to delegate, you know, and I need to be able to, you know, I should have delegated the bloody directing to someone, but like, you do need to delegate. You need to delegate these things, and that's kind of, it's just creative problem solving. That's what 95% of it, isn't it? Delegated the acting to you. Like at one point I was like, I'll just do it, you know. That's a lie, I wasn't.
And Stephen?
Okay, so I'll kind of go into this a little bit. About 4 days before we started shooting, I was in the midst of a mental health crisis.
Okay.
And I contacted Olivia, who was the producer on it, and I was like, I do not know if I can be there on the day. Which to me, and I've struggled with my mental health for a better part of a decade, and it started to really encroach into work. Usually it was an escape for me, but then there was just some things going on, and I was like, this is the first time that I've actually went, like, you know what, I'm in trouble. I might not be able to be there. So I contacted Ollie, and she was super supportive. She was like, you know, whatever you feel like you need to do. But she was like, you know, we need to know if you're going to be there, just so that we can either recast, and which was totally understandable. I wasn't expecting anything other than that, and I made a decision to go, and you know, it's amazing watching the film back, because I said this to David when we were chatting earlier. I was looking into my eyes on screen, and I was like trying to see what I was feeling on the day, and I was a mess. You couldn't see it, but I was an absolute mess. But the support, the comfort, everything I got from David and the guys who were there was unbelievable. It was. I mean, it didn't make me feel better,
Right.
because it was that bad. But the amount of support I got from the guys was unreal. I feel like I could tell them how I was feeling. I could just lay it all out on them, and they would be like, whatever you need. And it was beautiful. It was absolutely. So yeah, I guess for me, the answer to your question is, I realised that I could, you know, kind of do anything with that. But yeah, it could have been. I could have got a call from David and been like, I can't believe you're doing this 4 days before the shoot. I didn't get that. I just get absolute reassurance, comfort, guidance, and yeah, it was amazing.
It was just because he was so easy to replace.
But
You're a fucker.
but on that, and Stephen, I know that wouldn't have been easy to share, but on that, you've been here today and you've sat in the cinema and you've watched it up on the screen. You must be proud of what you guys done at a time like that.
Yeah, and it's amazing because this is the first time I've seen it. This is the first time I've seen it, and I was sitting there, I was laughing, it was funny because I said I was at one point I felt like just looking at him and going, you are fucking nuts, which would be ironic compared to the way I was while I was filming it. But it's an amazing film, And you've got to be so proud of yourself. I think you're giving yourself a hard time because that film looks fantastic.
I think, I think I didn't learn that about myself just because I knew already that like we're not putting out fires, and like don't get me wrong, I sunk like so much time into this, and a lot of money as well. Well, for me anyway. And at the end of the day, like, you know, when Stephen phoned us and said all that, I didn't know you were going to talk about that. To be fair,
no.
But
took the wind away your sails.
It did a wee bit. I've had to change my tone completely.
Right, what we'll do is we'll throw it out to the audience. Do we have any questions out there? Because honestly, I don't know how to follow that. So, do we have any? We don't have any microphones, so you will have to throw your voice a bit. I got one there.
Yep.
This guy here. So you said you normally do unscripted stuff. So since you wrote this, I wanted to ask about the script writing process. Where did because the father and the son felt pretty specific, and the characters felt lived in. Where did that come from? Where did you get this idea from?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I'm from the Highlands, so I'm from a small village in the Highlands, and I moved to Glasgow when I was like 6. But my dad grew up there, and he would always kind of like allude to there being things out in the forest, to the point that I think we were all a little bit, me, my brother and my sister were quite scared of the forest. I mean, like, it's just quite an untrustworthy place. You know, there's a loch near where I grew up, and it's got a little placard on it from the National Trust. It's like legit, and it says Robert the Bruce threw his claymore into this loch, you know, to get away from the English. And legend has it that this sword is still at the bottom of this loch. And then in a little brackets underneath, literally National Trust little brackets, it says, it may not be this loch, it might be another one. So like even like the official signs are like not even like completely accurate, right? So there was all these stories my dad used to tell. So when he told us this story about the car being buried, I originally had an idea. I was going to make a documentary about it, short documentary. Just I'll take my camera, follow him up. We'll get a wee metal detector. We'll go and find this car. And we went up for a day, couldn't find it, you know, and it was a bit shit, to be honest. I was like, I'm not being harsh on myself. It genuinely was like, you know, and I was like, okay. And every time I told anyone the story about it, you know, every time I told like people that my dad took this car for a joyride, instead of abandoning it, he got cold feet, instead of abandoning it, burning it, drive it into a loch, giving it back, he decided to drive it up a mountain, dig a massive hole and bury it, you know, and that's such a ridiculous, it's too stupid.
Only in Scotland.
So stupid that you actually did that though.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
The apple doesn't fall off the tree.
Yeah, but I thought, well, this is actually, you know, a good opportunity to, because I've you know, like I think like all of us, we're not, like when you're in the creative industry or you're doing things, it's not creative, it's like you know, a lot of the time it's just creative problem solving. So being able to kind of, and a lot of the time you are part of you're part of a big machine. I mean, I work in fucking Gladiators.
That's
you know,
right,
like
right.
I'd work in Gladiator.
Yeah.
I do the VTs for Gladiators.
Nice.
You're in the studio. If anyone gets injured in Gladiators, I'm the guy with the camera going, "You let your family down," you know, like, right? And like, that's fine for a few weeks in a year, but you're a very, very small cog on a very big machine, and that's kind of the day job, right? But I wanted to be like, okay, this is my thing, and I can, you know. It can be as good or as shit as I make it. And I'm not, a lot of the time when you work on documentaries or shows like Gladiators, you can just be like, well, yeah, the channels went, you know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Barney Walsh is just there because he's Bradley's son, you know, it's so shit. You know, like, the higher-ups are making these decisions, but this was just me. You know, I had nowhere to hide, nowhere to kind of blame. So I guess when I'm like kind of going, that bit's a bit rubbish, it's really because in my day job, I'd be like, well, you know, that guy made that decision. That's wrong. So I'm really just trying to be critical of myself.
But see, on that, like, I mean, I know the parts in the film with the kids, the teenagers, that was all shot a month or two after me and Simon and stuff like that. But after those few days, and the last day after we did, you know, digging up the car and stuff like that, you were just like, I don't know if the jubilance is the right word, you were just like, you were in a complete state of awe, being like, I cannot fucking believe we just did this. And I kept looking over at you and I was like, this guy, you were just like, you were so, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but you were just like,
I was emotionally overwhelmed, probably, yeah. I still had a handle on the whole thing.
You just like, but it was like amazing because you've took this story that's been a part of your life and you've managed to just do that, and you were just like almost in disbelief that this had actually happened. It was amazing watching it, and I saw like obviously everyone around you being like, yeah, and you were just like, I'm not putting it in words correctly, but you were.
I mean, you could probably tell I'm not very good at taking compliments.
He's terrible at taking compliments. Yeah, that's exactly, you're shut up. Aye.
It's just one person.
Do we have any other questions?
Oh God.
Again, you will have to throw your voice.
Yeah, I'll just start talking again.
Right, so I'm going to end with somewhat of a light-hearted question, and if you could go back and reshoot any one scene within this movie, I mean, you're super critical of it. So if you could go back and reshoot any one scene in this movie, however, this time it has to be as a musical number, what scene would you reshoot as a musical number, and what would the musical number be?
Oh,
God's sake,
it would be. I've just got West Side Story stuck in my head for like, and you, when you're sitting with Simon, you could just start, I want to live in America, I want to live in America, and he's just like, what are you doing?
Oh, so we're flipping it.
It's like that could literally be in it. And he's like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I love that song. And then he'd be like, it's going to cost a fortune for the rights.
So we're flipping it from I'm not making any sense compared to him not making any sense throughout the entire film.
You're not going to use this bit, are you?
Of course we are, it's the bit people love.
Okay, well there you go. West Side Story.
I don't know. I honestly do not know.
We could have been anything that we wanted to.
There you go.
There you go.
Right, guys, thank you so much for submitting the movie to us, letting us show it up there today, and most of all, thank you for being here to do this. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you guys made a great movie, so crack on. We want to see more from you.
Thanks,
appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Cheers, thank you.